Anthony from the neighborhood.
Señores, aquí estamos sábado a las 11 de la mañana. Here we are at From the Neighborhood on Latino Mix. You know this is the place to go so you can find all the programming en inglés y en español. Y aquí estamos hablando de los vecindarios. This is the show where you're going to get to know who's your neighbor. And these are people that are living in our own communities that are doing pretty, wow, like substantial, amazing, exceptional things that you would say, that's happening in my neighborhood? Like, I live next door to that person? And this is where we debunk what people think of the headlines that they see on the news. And they say, wait, that neighborhood, it's not a good neighborhood. Or people who live there are stuck up, or it's boring. You know what? There are special people in every single community. Hay gente especiales en cada comunidad y hay que reconocerlos quiénes son y qué es lo que están haciendo que te va a impactar y va a cambiar tu mundo. So welcome to the show, guys. And as always, I ask you guys to stay in touch with me. Reach out to me from the neighborhood, wherever you go, and let me know. If you've got a great story, share it. Comparte tu historia y déjame saber lo que está pasando en tu vecindario. Tal vez tú conoces un vecino y lo quieres nominar, o tal vez sea tú la persona que tiene una buena historia y puede impactar a otros. Hay muchas cosas que pasan, hay mucha gente que tienen cosas en su vida, tal vez problemas, tal vez necesitan inspiración. Sea esa persona que vaya a iluminarlo y hacerlo echar adelante. Be that person that's going to give him the light and help him move forward. So, guys, welcome to the show. It's every Saturday at 11 o'clock here on Latino Mix, and there's so much more coming for this year. I'm super excited for today's episode. So make sure you guys go ahead and jump on either the app, the website, whatever it is. Put it on your calendar and make sure to jump on Saturday, 11 o'clock from the neighborhood. Y señores, ahí le voy a decir que si usted tiene un negocio y lo quiere hacer conocer, you want people to know where you are and visit your business, make sure to advertise. The Latino Mix team is going to help you out with all the packages that they've got. So many creative things that you can do to get your business known, especially have it be known as one that is from the neighborhood and with the community that's going to be supporting your business. So let's get back to what the day is all about. It's Saturday, hoy es sábado, y ya usted sabe que los sábados, a mí me gusta darle mucha energía a ustedes, que ustedes se sienten bien, que se aceleren su día, que comience el fin de semana en buen pie, con buen ánimo. Y sábado, yo sé que en la noche es que uno se despierta, right? Sábado es que uno se va a la rumba, se va al baile, se va a disfrutar. But the truth is, guys, Saturday could be an amazing day from the moment you wake up. You start getting ready for that evening get together, right? So el sábado es para los rumberos. And with that, I'm going to jump to Tito Puente, who says it best. Los rumberos. Let's go.
Anthony from the neighborhood.
Así mismo, llamando a todos los rumberos este sábado. Ya usted sabe que comenzamos tempranito aquí. Eso es para darle la energía, porque este programa es sobre el progreso y es las personas que están al lado suyo que lo están cumpliendo. Y tal vez tú no lo sabes. Maybe you don't know the person next door to you is having so many amazing accomplishments. And today I'm going to have a really, really big show. And I'm really, really delighted to have this guest here today. There's just so much we're going to cover. Tantas cosas que te van a inspirar, especialmente las mujeres que están ahí afuera. Escúchenme bien, que hay mucha cosa que es posible en la vida. And no matter what age you are, life isn't over. It doesn't just stop right there, and it doesn't just say, hey, you know, I grew up to be this one position and I cannot transform into someone else. You're going to be inspired today. Ustedes van a estar bien inspirados. Y si ustedes se sienten muy orgullosos de donde ustedes son, bueno, le invito a mi tienda store.fromtheneighborhood.com and just go ahead and check out what we've got and pick up where you are from and say, I am Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, Bronx. Let them know where you're from, because there's many superstars that are living in those communities. So with that, folks, I'm going to go to my introduction. Voy a introducir la persona que tengo hoy en el programa. Ella se llama Susie Jaramillo. Y tal vez no he escuchado el nombre, tal vez no lo he escuchado en la noticia, tal vez lo he escuchado a través de tu niño. Maybe you've heard this name across child's books, right? You're wondering, who is this Susie Jaramillo? Well, there's a very famous series of books from Canticos. And Canticos is not just books, it's on YouTube. There's technology behind it. There's an app. There's just so much that's coming around. And this thing just keeps growing. It's ballooning into this amazing bilingual environment where kids are learning how to speak Spanish. They're learning Spanish culture and so much more from cartoons. So we're speaking their language. Y aquí yo traigo la persona que está responsable para eso. Ella se llama Susie Jaramillo. Bienvenido al show, Susie Jaramillo.
Ay, por favor, Anthony, gracias por tenerme acá. Es un placer para mí.
Sí, me siento muy bien, muy orgulloso me siento yo.
Mutual, el orgullo es mutual.
Yo vi Canticos y yo estaba diciendo, wow, pero ¿qué es esto, Canticos? I'm looking at it like is this another thing where, they took, a non-Latino, they just used the word and all of a sudden it's a taco truck, Are there Latinos in the kitchen cooking up this Canticos?
Absolutely. So a little background.
Yeah.
Encantos, the company that makes Canticos, was actually started by two Latino families.
Wow.
Right, so I'm Venezuelan, my husband's Colombian, and my co-founders are él es dominicano y ella es salvadoreña.
Wow, me encanta.
Sí, so the four of us got together and we were like, you know what? 26% of kids are Latinos.
Yeah.
Where's our media? Where's our books? Where's our animated series? Where are we for inspiring kids? What's out there to make our kids proud of who they are?
Well, let's go into something. Let's take it way back. Vamos a regresar as to where is Susie? And Susie, you're from New York.
I'm from New York.
You're from a neighborhood. Let's just shout out the borough.
Absolutely.
Where are you
All
from?
right, so we're happily based in Brooklyn.
Brooklyn
and
represent.
forever.
Yes.
Absolutely, Brooklyn in the house.
Brooklyn in the house. Let me tell you something. A lot of people go ahead and say, oh, you're from Brooklyn, and they think they know everything that's all about Brooklyn. But here we have a major company, right? A major movement, in my opinion, coming out of Brooklyn. Humble place, if you ask me, because I'm from Brooklyn.
No, but Brooklyn's a creative hub, though. There's so many cool creative people in Brooklyn. I've been there since. I'm not going to say since when. Let's just say I went to art school in Brooklyn, so I've been there for a long time.
Yeah, you want to give a special shout out to that school?
I went to Pratt.
Oh,
Hey,
Pratt represent. Wow, great school.
Yeah,
Great
it's a
school.
great school. I loved Pratt. I found myself in Pratt.
That's awesome, and I know some of that because I've read your articles. You have been published recently. I seen Pop Sugar. Now, People en Español. New York One News had you on there as well. You were on CBS News. Quite a few things. I know I can go down a whole list, but let's go way back to where you started, because everybody's like, oh, nació en los Estados Unidos, born in the US, she knows English, conoces todos, ella tuvo la ventaja. You had the advantage because you were born here. But where did you really start? Where did you open your eyes?
That's a good question. Okay, so where did I open my eyes? So I was born in Venezuela. If that's right. Technically, I was born in Venezuela, but I was born in Venezuela as an American born abroad.
Yes.
Because my mother's American.
En el viaje de vacaciones or something like that.
No, ni siquiera. So they didn't let my father into this country.
Ah.
So my mother moved with him to Venezuela. They accused him of being like a communist and didn't let him in.
Hold on a second, porque aquí es donde la gente se equivoca. Mira, el problema de la inmigración puede ser en reversa.
Total.
Entonces, estamos hablando de separación de familia porque tú naciste allá,
Sí,
pero
exacto.
era americana.
Sí, pues yo nací allá porque mi mamá decidió seguir por amor a mi papá. Como no dejaron a mi papá entrar en este país, ellos se conocieron en España. And since they wouldn't let my father come here, my mother decided, well, I'm going to follow him to Venezuela. And so I was born in Venezuela. But when I was a baby, I was child number 4, right?
Okay.
So when I was a baby, my parents were like, maybe it's a good idea if mom goes and lives in Florida and dad comes and visits back and forth from Venezuela. No me preguntes, por favor, no me preguntes cómo funcionó eso.
Eso son cosas entre pareja.
It was the 70s. It was the 70s.
Sí.
Entonces, nada. So I grew up as a little kid in Florida with my father just coming and going and living with my mom and my siblings, right? But when I turned 10, my parents are like, let's give it a go living together, right? So instead of my father coming to this country, we migrate to Venezuela.
So you have this influence de Latinoamérica, porque tu mamá es ecuatoriana, es irlandesa, right? And tu papá es venezolano. So you have Irish, Ecuadorian, Venezuelan, but you're growing up here in the U.S. So now how do you put all of this together? Where does Spanish come into your life?
Not to mention, my mom is like 100% Staten Island, okay?
Oh.
She's it's like Irish, Ecuadorian, Staten Island.
Staten Island, yeah.
Entonces nada, nos vamos a Venezuela, and my cousins and my family surrounds me, right? And so in the United States, my mom's cousins didn't talk to each other. It's like that Irish grudge thing.
Okay.
But when I go to Venezuela, they all live in the same neighborhood. And then when it's your birthday, they all show up at your birthday party.
Wow.
And then you show up at everybody else's birthday party.
Latinos have that. Even when you smell food, everybody shows up at the house. Ustedes saben que ustedes cocinan bien en su casa, van a aparecer todo el mundo, todos los primos.
Todo el mundo, o sea, and all of a sudden I had instant friends.
Yeah,
wow. Mis primos, tenían primos de mi edad, instantáneamente eran mis mejores amigos.
Wow.
And it was really cool. All of a sudden I had real extended family everywhere. And they were so much fun. And my cousins, because llegamos y no hablamos bien español. And the first thing they did was music, so all of these like different songs that were really for kids younger than me.
Right.
But I started that's how I picked up
These
the
are like
language.
nursery rhymes.
Exacto.
Son las canciones de niños. Son las canciones que nosotros escuchamos. El burrito sabanero, things like that, right?
Total,
Yeah.
exacto. And so I just fell in love with the culture. And I was like this American kid, and you're going to Venezuela, and you realize that they don't value material things as much as it is here. It's like more about people, and it's about warmth, and it's about el cafecito, and it's about qué le pasó a esta y qué le pasó al otro, and taking care of each other. And it was just a whole different vibe.
So did you at one point like feel like you were just taking that for granted? Like, if they show up every day at your house, and it's like that sort of thing, like you say, en aire no me hace falta porque yo respiro y no lo pienso.
Claro.
La familia latina siempre aparece por todo lado y uno dice, pues siempre están ahí. Pero había un momento en tu vida donde tú dijiste, wow, como que me falta. Tal vez cuando tú estabas, I don't know, visiting your Staten Island friends.
No, tranquila. No, so I've never lived in the island. I bless Staten Island, but I've actually never quite lived there. But when I was 15, my parents separated. And my mom basically, she said, we're going to the United States. We're going back to Florida for the summer. And then we stayed. So it was very abrupt, my coming back to the United States.
How old were you?
I was 15. So 15. You're like just about to turn. So, o sea, ni 15 años, and it's like abrupt because...
That's at a backful age because that's the age where you're also going through your mindset shift, right?
Yeah.
You're growing up. You're becoming an adult.
You didn't say goodbye to anybody.
Wow. That's an Irish goodbye.
That's super Irish. You thought you were just coming back for the summer.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, you didn't even move. You packed a suitcase. So it was very like the abrupt transition was a massive culture shock.
So you literally had like your roots pulled and you were deported to the U.S. in a sense because culturally you were just extracted.
And the funny thing is like at 14, 15 in Venezuela, in Caracas, you're going out. You know what I mean?
Sí.
You're dancing until 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, and then you're going to have arepas.
Estamos hablando sin darte la edad, pero estamos hablando de que tú tenías los 15 años y más joven, o sea que no estaba el Venezuela que estamos hablando de hoy día.
No.
Eso era un Venezuela diferente, muy metropolitano.
Espectacular.
Right?
Era súper metropolitano. Era súper. I mean, it was fun. It wasn't super safe, but it was nothing compared to now.
Right.
And in the environments where I was, it was safe. It was fun, and it was a really thriving social life. So from there, I went to like Melbourne, Florida, which is like, it couldn't be more different than Caracas, Venezuela, right? And so I was just like, okay, I love city, right?
Sí.
I love city. I love the like, fashion. I love art. I love culture.
Me suena como Nueva York.
And my mom was from New York. She was a New Yorker, and she was like, she always raved about New York, and that's what you see in the movies. And I was like, I'm going to New York. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to New York.
Así fue cuando llegaste acá a Nueva York y tú dijiste, temprana edad, you were only 17 years old.
Yeah.
17 years old, you get here to New York and you're like, I'm going to do something. And I'm assuming you graduated high school early because then after you went immediately into college, right?
I'm a December 27th baby. Like I'm born really late, so I started school early. So I graduated early.
I know the feeling.
Exacto. So I started. I was like I want to study art because that's what I'm good at, and I don't think I fit into that corporate box. And my mom was like, my mom, bless her, she had zero expectations of me. She's like, sweetie, you can do whatever the hell you want.
You're the last one. You're the fourth child. Una cosa pasa con uno el último. Haz lo que tú quieras. We don't care.
Fourth girl child, just don't get pregnant. O sea,
wow.
Fourth girl child, you have one thing you have to follow.
And today she's just like, I couldn't believe it, right?
Sí, total.
Unbelievable. So listen, I got to say something though. Very colorful, the whole childhood. Bien sorprendente porque la persona dicen, ¿sabe qué? Yo siempre tengo como una idea del, este invitado me va a contar esto. But when they hear the story about living in Venezuela and back, I'm sure that at this point, they're looking at you in a completely different light and saying, wow, this is a story that I could relate to. Whether they just got here the other day o si tienen toda su vida aquí en los Estados Unidos y son primera generación americano, pasan por ese cambio cultural que yo te digo que es lo mismo, como tú dijiste, Melbourne aquí a Nueva York es un cambio cultural. Venezuela a Melbourne es un cambio cultural, idiomas y muchas cosas más. Pero me da alegría que tú lo hicieras y que tú siguieras. Y yo comencé el show con los rumberos y lo voy a seguir con una canción que te gusta a ti,
Dale.
right? Porque yo sé que cuando tú llegaste aquí, tú llegaste con el sabor neoyorquino, la energía neoyorquina, estaba gritando Kimbara, Kimbara, como dicen en la calle. So le voy a decir la canción de Celia Cruz y Johnny Pacheco, Kimbara, let's go.
Anthony from the neighborhood.
Y bienvenidos, señores. Si ustedes nos están cogiendo ahora en este punto del programa, ya saben que estamos hablando con una persona muy, muy importante por muchas razones. Y la mejor razón es por tus niños. Tus niños están escuchando Canticos a cada rato. Y esta es la persona que está atrás de Canticos. This is the person behind Canticos. And she is here with us, Susie Jaramillo. We've been talking for a little while now. We've been talking about your journey, right? Venezuela, Florida. Now we're in New York.
That's right.
Pratt,
Yeah.
right? In Brooklyn. And I guess you never left.
No, I never left. I love Pratt, by the way.
New York
Great
is
school.
sticky like that. Yeah, it's the cheese on the pizza.
Total.
So bringing you back here to New York and what you've been working on, I want to kind of go into the conversation of like, how was it the journey to get there, right? Because you didn't just like wake up and say, okay, straight out of school, Canticos. Where did you get your start? When you're in school, what is going through your mind and what did you do?
So when I was in school, right, I'm drawing, I'm painting, I'm studying illustration, right? And I interned for an illustrator in the city, and I was like, okay, I don't want to do what she does. Like, I don't know, like, what I'm going to do. All I know is that I love art, I love drawing, I love storytelling.
Yeah.
And I know that the way I'm going to build my career is not going to be the same way everybody else is doing it or the way they're teaching us to do it. That I knew at like age 18, 19, 20.
Wow, because I read something in there where you were saying about like, why do I have to conform to a style? Why can't the style be me? Something like that, right?
Exactly, because we were trained to, develop a style, perfect your style, then you get hired for that style. And I was like, no, it's like choose my favorite food and cook the same thing over and over again.
Eso no pasa en el hogar latino. We cannot cook the same plate over and over again. Nosotros tenemos tanta variedad. And I got to say something that for Latinos, I mean, when they say Latinos, is everything in Latin America, Central America. How many plates and dishes are there? How much artistry, how much history there's in there? So you can't pick a style. As an artist, you're finding yourself to be multiversed.
Exactly. And I love, like, my superpower, I love drawing, and I love painting, and I love exploring different styles, and I love art styles, like, Art Nouveau, or like, Art Deco, or like, Mexican muralists, or like all these different, movements of art. And so I was like, how about I just do something with style, no matter what I do.
Yeah.
Right. And so I knew that I wanted to do something where I owned what I did. That was important to me too. And I wanted to be my own boss. These are things that I knew early. Like, I wanted to be able to be in control of my career.
Bien difícil para un artista. Very difficult for an artist to be a business mind and also putting out the artwork, because owning it is something that artists rarely get to do.
Mucho más un artista mujer. No es por nada, but like in my class, there were like, it was mostly the men that drew the best. And there were like 2 or 3 of us females that like held our own, right? And even when even in the agency world, I was like one of the few Latina creative director, co-founder, owner.
Whoa, hold on a second. Ella fue dueña de una agencia de advertising.
Yeah,
o sea, todos los anuncios, todas las propagandas que tuve, todos los panfletos.
Sí.
Like, this is all advertising. You actually became co-founder of an advertising agency.
Te cuento el resumen. Basically, I started out in the creative field. I bounced around in animation, just drawing. And then I was like, okay, I'm kind of being not used for all of my brain. I'm just being used to like draw, and I can do so much more. So then I followed my friend into fashion, and I started doing like, creative direction and turning street styles into like merchandise plans and designing prints and designing embroideries. And I was like, I like this. I like understanding what's going on in the street and translating that into like a line of something for kids.
Wow.
And I was like, this learning, like, but this is like, you learn animation, you learn merchandising. And I was like, this is important because I know that one day I'm going to have a brand and I'm going to want to understand how to do these different aspects of it, right?
Yes.
And so then...
Jack of all trades kind of a thing, right?
Sí, o sea, sin entenderlo. I'm a very intuitive creature, and I just kind of followed like my path, right? And so then some friends of mine were starting like, one was an expert in production, the other one was like advertising guy, like account manager. And they were getting together and they were starting an agency, and they were like, they were really close friends. I hung out with them a lot, and they were like, listen, we need a creative director. And I'm like, well, I'm certainly creative. I can certainly help you. I can tell by just what you're talking about, but I have no experience in advertising. And they're like, that's fine. We got you. And so I was the only female partner in this group, and I had the only one with 0 experience in advertising.
Now, are we at permission to speak about y saber quiénes fueron los clientes? Who were the clients? Some of the people that you produced stuff for?
So we started our first agency when I was 26. And Macy's was one of my favorite clients. We were their agency of record for 10 years.
Wow.
Verizon Wireless, PepsiCo.
Incredible.
Pernod Ricard, we threw a ton of events for like Smirnoff and Hennessy, just a whole bunch of you name it. There were like a lot of really
estos son todos
big...
nombres caseros, household names that
Sí.
you see it. Like somebody has a bottle of Hennessy at home. Si son
Claro.
casas latinos, tienen mucho Hennessy.
Puro carácter,
Right.
el tagline de puro carácter, eso fue mi agencia.
¿En serio? Wow.
So we did a lot of really great work, pero siempre en el mercado latino.
Sí, sí.
And the reason I wanted to do it in the Latin market was because I felt like there's where I could make a difference. There's where I could represent.
Pero algo vino en un tiempo, yo creo que donde tú dijiste, lo que mi cliente quieren no es lo que yo quiero. So
Exacto.
like you found yourself at a point where it's like you're at odds with a client. How do you tell a client, hey, I'm going to come away from this. I need to take a break. I know you went on a sabbatical, but like where was it that you drew the line and it at that point said, I'm doing my own brand?
Well, what happened was my clients weren't as ambitious as I was for what was possible in the space.
Right.
You know, here I was pitching this Latino opportunity on a regular basis. Like, we overspend on cosmetics. We overspend on telecommunications. We overspend on retail. We're the biggest spenders. We are the biggest economy here in this country. If we were a country, our spending power, we'd be the 5th largest country in the world.
Eso es lo que la gente no se dan
Exacto.
cuenta. Nosotros siempre pensamos muy poco de nosotros mismos. Right?
Yeah.
I honestly think that we need to take an honest look in the mirror and look at yourself and say, you know what? I'm a Latino and I have power. We're not just power in numbers, but we're actually the ones who are double likely to start businesses.
That's right.
And I think people also forget that. We also are 1.2 billion, I believe, in spending power. Is that right?
I have a theory on that. I think it's a particular type of person who leaves his country and starts off from scratch and learns a different language and learns a different culture. And eso no es cualquier persona que hace eso.
No.
So I think that actually immigrants are the best people in the world.
And this is a country built on that. So at the end of the day, if we are the new immigrants per se,
Exacto.
then we have to really build up what is to be the future of this country. So I appreciate you then taking that step. And your clients weren't looking for what you were looking for. You decided to go on your own.
Yeah, well, I realized that, by now we were in the era of social media. And I was having my babies and I was like, wait a second. I know that 26% of kids are Latino. Where are our brands? Where are our stories? Where's our, I turn on the TV and what do I see?
Vamos a darle para atrás el reloj. There is no Encantos. There is no Coco. There is no, nada de las cosas
Nada,
populares que usted está viendo allá afuera.
No.
Tal vez existía que Dora.
Dora. At the time it was Dora.
Dora, okay.
Literally Dora. That was the only thing there was.
Y Plaza Sésamo.
Plaza Sésamo empezó, there was the buzz of a Princess Eleanor of Avalon, de ahí, por ahí había salido el press release.
Okay.
Pero todavía no existía.
La intención.
Sí, la intención estaba por ahí. Entonces nada, so I was like, look, if I don't do this, I'm gonna hate myself. I see that there's the business opportunity. I know how to build brands. I know how to build teams. I know how to run production. And I haven't been drawing for a while. You get to a point in the agency world and you're just making decisions and presenting, right? And so I wanted to go back to my artistic roots. I wanted to draw and I wanted to flesh out something really beautiful and lean into my ikigai. And if you don't know what the concept of ikigai is, I'm going to lay it out, and it's really important for
Dímelo,
everyone
sí.
to listen here. This is a Japanese concept.
Yep.
Okay, so imagine 4 circles. In one circle, you have what you love. In another circle, you have what you're really good
Yes,
at.
I've seen this.
In another circle,
Right.
it's how you serve. And in another circle, it's how you make money.
This is the crossroads,
In
right?
the middle of that is your purpose, right?
Yeah.
And so I knew I loved art, I loved animation, I loved production, I knew of stories, movies, I loved, and I'm very good at it too. I draw really well. I'm good at the craft, and I'm good at putting the teams and directing the process. And I really felt that my community needed this.
Can I tell you one
always-
part that I think was pivotal in your life? Mother of 2 children.
Total.
Tienes 2 hijos. Ella no es mujer soltera sin responsabilidad. Tiene 2 niños en su casa. She has 2 kids at home. And they were the age of, 3 and 5?
Sí.
At the time where this idea comes along and you start saying, I'm going to do this. And I think it was a crossroad because in one article you mentioned that you took your culture for granted, right? Until you realized that you were basically, at a certain age. I'm not going to mention what it says. But you realized how underserved we were here in the
Total.
U.S., where we stood, how underrepresented we are. And then basically you started seeing the children as the future. O sea, los niños siendo el futuro, la inversión en ellos. And this kind of births something here.
That's, honestly, that's the difference. A culture that invests in their children is a thriving, sophisticated culture. You invest in kids, you've invested in the future. That's the best investment you can make.
I love that.
And from my perspective, it was like I started translating. I translate every single song that I write originally. Every single Cantico song is written by me, either because I've picked it out of the what's existed in the ether, and I've adapted to English, or I've written something from scratch, or I've taken a nugget from here like Sana Sana and turned it into like a whole song, right? Pero para mí súper importante I wanted to give something to the community, but I wanted to make it as good as anything that Disney would put out or anything that anybody else would put out.
Let me tell you, it's really, really good. And I'm going to just jump in here because Canticos is the #1 bilingual preschool brand.
Yeah.
Encantos, who is the company running Canticos, is an award-winning children's entertainment company. I'm reading it right from here. That was named by Fast Company. So, una marca americana está reconociendo una marca hecha por una Latina, right? And this is one of the most innovative companies. That's what it was recognized. World's most innovative companies. And then on top of that, you have Business Insider recognizing it as the top 100 startups. So I got to say that it didn't stop there, because then Apple celebrated you guys as one of the featured creators and like, what was it? App of the week, app of the day, or something like that?
They kicked off Hispanic Heritage Month with Canticos, which is such a privilege.
Incredible.
And then Tim Cook tweeted us out, which was amazing. And they flew us to California, to LA to do a photo shoot and to interview. And it was really great. Apple has been like just an amazing partner.
You took over the Apple store. So I got to go ahead and say that you guys have already gotten plenty of recognition, plenty of awards. And obviously you've been to LA and probably many more places, because I expect you guys to go on your own award tour. And with that, guys, I'm going to go to a quick break from a Tribe Called Quest, a world tour.
Anthony from the neighborhood.
Y aquí regresamos y hablamos sobre todos los premios que ustedes han ganado con los trabajos que ustedes han hecho, right? All these awards. I mean, did I miss one?
No, we're super privileged to be like Emmy nominated with Canticos. We've beat out Disney and Sesame Street twice on kids' screen.
Emmy. Okay, so let's keep going on this award tour. You got Emmys. What else has come there?
So we were awarded both on the publishing side as well as on the animation side. So on the publishing side, if you Kirkus, School Library Journal, Publishers Weekly, they've all given us stars. I was chosen as one of Publishers Weekly's rising stars. So it's like we have and on the app front as well, we're incredibly accoladed. So I would say that we're very, very proud of the content that we make, and we hold ourselves to a very high standard.
Let me go back, because I mean, we talked about your life in getting there, right? Nosotros hablamos de cómo llegaste allá, pero tú pasaste mucho tiempo en tu vida tratando de averiguar ¿qué es lo que debo hacer? ¿Cómo es que tú te encontraste en ese laberinto y pudiste salir con esta idea? How did you go through the labyrinth of what am I supposed to do? Who can I serve? How is this going to work? And then how did you get out of there? What was that like shining light that you got out of the maze?
You know what? It clicked. It was like, I have to leave advertising. I have to sell my company. I have to get out and I have to go listen to myself. And that was like, it was hard, because it was like, holy crap, I have to start over.
Right.
Because I'm no one in the entertainment field. I don't know anyone in publishing. I don't have any rep. I don't have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people in advertising and production, but I have to start over. And you know what? I have to do it without my business partner, because in the agency world, I wasn't a solo player. I had partners.
Right.
And now I was going to let them go. And honestly, and they carried the business. I wasn't the CEO. I was the executive creative director. They carried the business front. I was like, okay, I'm going to reinvent myself, and I have to trust myself that I'm going to start this and that something will happen. And that was probably the hardest thing, of like letting go of like not being a part of the scene, the agency scene, not being important because I don't have a name and a title behind me anymore.
It's like you change your complete identity.
Yeah,
at this point, you're a new player in a field that you're just unfamiliar with.
That's right. And I don't have like a big corporate budget. I don't have a production budget. I don't have like these major clients I can throw around. Now I'm just...
Your I don't have list is almost as long as your award list at this point, right?
Well, I'm Susie Jaramillo, and that's it. You know what I mean? And if you knew me and you liked me, you'll still talk to me.
Wow.
Right? But if you knew me and you only cared about the stuff that I represented or came from, you're not going to bother with me, because I'm not in place anymore. I'm not in the game.
Yeah, that feels it feels interesting, because a lot of people, when they cross over, they feel like, I'm worthless now because I don't belong in this space. But are you doing that to yourself? Are you saying to yourself and being the worst judge, like I'm worthless? Or are you giving the world a chance to see your colors? And I think that's what you started to do was, hey, I can draw, and I have this thing, the children at home, and let's connect everything,
can
right?
Can we get religious for
Absolutely.
just a second?
Do it.
So
Go
I'm not a religious person. I was raised very, very Catholic, but I'm not a religious person. However, I believe God whispers to you through the talents that he gives you. Right? And so I believe that that I was given gifts, and if I wasn't using them, then I wasn't serving my purpose, and I wasn't being true to myself or my creator. So I felt it was more important for me to really use the gifts that I was given than anything else.
Yeah, ponga atención, señores. Mira lo que ella está diciendo, que es, ella siente como que algo le estuvo hablando, y no estamos hablando de que si usted no tiene preferencia sobre una religión o la otra, estamos hablando de que ella se sintió en línea con su propósito en su vida, o sea, la razón por qué ella estuvo existiendo aquí en este mundo.
Exacto.
Y estamos hablando ahora de una persona que está manejando una compañía extraordinariamente grande y reconocida, and we're talking about, like, you got a humble beginning. Tuviste que comenzar de nuevo, to like a reset.
Total. Y hice un acuerdo con mi esposo, que además yo me casé con un esposo que es realmente un socio, un partner, right?
Yeah.
Entonces le dije, mira, dame 2 años para dibujar, dame 2 años para escucharme, para pintar y para empezar a escribir, porque si yo voy y empiezo a echarle el cuento de alguien que tenga una visión de, nursery rhymes y canticos, people are going to look at me like I have 3 heads, right? So I need to like flesh this out, put it on paper, bring it to life, and then go have lunch with people.
Correct.
Right?
Start applying yourself in that thing, because you don't want to just blow the hot air, run out of gas.
Exactly.
You're saying, let me put it into an actual craft. So,
Exactly.
¿qué hizo él? ¿Te compró tu primera caja de crayolas? Like, how did he say go?
Honestly, even better. He actually helped me build my very first app, which was a Los Pollitos app, which he coded in in the Apple coding software. I forget what it's called. And I did all the drawings and I did all the animation. We did it together. We put it out for free.
Increíble, wow.
See, we put it out for free, and it got tons of downloads, and it was like our proof of concept.
Yeah.
Between that and then like the books the first 3 Canticos books, I hand painted the first 7 books, but the first 3 I made mock-ups of them and I started to shop it so that people could see it was a set.
So fueron 2 años que tú cogiste y te aplicaste como si fuera un trabajo full time.
Total.
Like you did not take this like, hey, I'm going to take 2 years and I'll work on it on a Saturday, but not again till next Saturday. No, you applied yourself 40, 60, 80 hours.
Total.
We're building an app. And you said proof of concept, prueba de concepto. Prueba de concepto, señores, es cuando uno comienza a realizar algo y ponerlo hacia adelante y a ver si tienen apetito para ese tipo de cosas.
Exacto.
Hay demanda para eso.
Exacto.
Y ella lo pudo realizar.
Exacto, porque la gente decía, bueno, es que los latinos no compran libros. Y yo, pues sí van a comprar libros y además les interesa su cultura. Porque la otra teoría es, bueno, es que los latinos vienen acá and they just
Latinos don't buy books.
Yeah.
Break that stereotype.
Please. Latinos don't buy books, and then Latinos don't care about their culture. They're just going to like care about like whatever. Like,
Wow.
and
Are
so
you
there was
kidding me?
this was the whole thing. It's like, no, Latinos, they want their nursery rhymes. They want their kids to love their songs. They love their culture. And I truly believe that Latinos also love what brings, what makes them feel proud.
Sí.
Right? Nosotros venimos de un punto de orgullo.
Sí, claro. Somos muy sentimental,
Sí.
muy apasionados.
Sí.
Y yo creo que si nosotros lo fuéramos a poner en buen camino, o sea, en los rieles necesarios para que llegue a un destino, it's unstoppable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I also, it's funny, I had a client once when I was in the agency world ask me like, why don't Latinos assimilate? Like, how come they just hold on to their culture? And I was like, have you been to our parties? Have you seen how we are? Like, why would we ever give that up?
Yeah, it's such a beautiful culmination of so many things because we have so many roots from, just going back into history, the migration and all that. We have so much of other races.
Total,
it's all built in, and Latinos come in so many different ways.
Total.
And it's unbelievable that, that this is such a big geographical, like, this area of the world.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get seen that way. So me encanto de que tú estás trayendo la marca Encantos para hacer tantos cambios entre la vida y te aplicaste por 2 años ahí trabajando. You were working, laboring, painting.
But I'll tell you a secret. Like, you don't find time. You make time, right? So if you want to do something, you just have to make the time and do it.
Wow.
And for me, it was like, another thing was my kids. Like, I'm like,
Toma nota, gente, toma nota.
so my kids are, they're not as dark as I am. My husband is él es colombiano, but he's like Euro-Colombiano, and they're going to grow here up in this country. I want them to be proud Latinos. I want them to know who they are. And just, even if they don't speak Spanish perfectly, I want them to like tener ese orgullo latino que tengo yo, that I get so much strength from. So that was another reason where I was just really committed. And the other thing is, like, I love the magic and the mystery and the laughter and the warmth and the wit that encompasses our culture. And I just felt like no one was doing it.
I love it. I love it. I love your passion. I love your fire. I think you are literally a girl on fire. And I'm going to let that song go with Alicia Keys, Girl on Fire. Let's go.
From the neighborhood.
Yes, guys, we are back with powerful, powerful combinations with the CEO who's talking to us about all her life story. We've gotten so much out of you, right? Like, and I think at the point where it's like an instruction guide of life. This isn't even a conversation of, we haven't gotten to the little chickens yet. No hemos llegado al elefante ni a Skeletina.
No importa, yo puedo volver, no hay problema.
No, I love it, porque esto es un manual de instrucción para la vida, porque las conversaciones han sido muy profundas, de que la persona dicen, oh, pero ella es gerente de una compañía, se casó con un hombre rico y así fue que pasó. No, this is not a Latina made in Manhattan story. This is a Latina made from the grit and the grind and the struggle. And you had something you told me off air, and you got here to New York, and you knew nobody and really had hardly any resources. So what was the most valuable thing you realized in life that you should always be sort of depositing into?
Yep.
What was that thing that actually made you get through New York? Because New York is a tough place. It's hard to get to New York. You make it here, you make it anywhere. Ya ustedes saben. So, ¿cómo fue que tú pudiste lograrlo en Nueva York?
So the most important skill you can have in life are actually your people skills. Your people skills, the network that you cultivate, and the connections that you make. And I talk about in spiritual terms. To me, I don't care about a person's title. I don't care about where they work. It's more to me like, do we have a broader shared mission? Do we connect? Do we bona fidely like each other? And then hang on to people, like collect people. Your people are your net. They're your safety net at the end of the day. And that's and I intuitively, it's funny, no one teaches you that in school. They teach you to be a great artist or a super smart, whatever. But the truth of the matter is, it doesn't matter how skilled you are.
Right.
If you don't have people skills, they hold these. Can I say that on the air?
Yeah, you can say that. You can absolutely say that. So, las personas, es verdad, porque las personas están conectadas a algo de ti.
Claro.
So, tú puedes tener todos los grados, todas las cualificaciones.
Exacto.
De lo que se espera, but you still have to have this people relation ability, right? This sort of way to relate.
And treat people the way you want to be treated, and take care of people. And just remember, I think it's also like at this point, understanding and acknowledging that people are in your life for a reason. Right? And so just honoring that and keeping people and treasuring people, I think that's been one of my important skills.
Tú sabes que yo voy a poner una cosa aquí. Nosotros los latinos también somos muy, muy orgullosos y a veces trompezamos y llegamos al error con un vecino y no cuesta nada para decir, perdóname, I'm sorry, let's start again. Porque algunas veces tú no sabes lo que le ofende a otra persona, o tú no conoces su historia, sus problemas, sus traumas que ellos están pasando ese día y ese día tuvieron un choque. Pero no tenga tanto orgullo de que no puedes regresar y seguir la conversación y hablar con una persona, ¿no?
Total. Y además hay mucho, por el orgullo mismo, hay muchas veces que nosotros pensamos, bueno, este tipo que me cae mal o me da mala espina, igual voy a ser su amigo porque él tiene un puesto importante. That's BS.
Oh,
you know what I mean? It goes the other way. Because you know what? It's the guy over there that you're not paying attention to that's an amazing person that's really going to go places. And they might not have a title now.
Yeah.
But, learn to recognize potential, learn to recognize spirits, learn to recognize people that are just high quality people.
I love it. I love it. Y ya ustedes saben que esa es la persona atrás de estos libros. This is the person behind the books. So if this is what she believes, how she lives, imagínate cómo son los libros. And you got a few books that are coming out and some that are out. So I want to go back to, obviously, one of my favorite, Canticos, the original.
Claro.
And this is because my daughter was probably 2-3 years old. And there's a song that I really like. I'm going to play with your permission.
Por favor.
There's one because it has a quick little beat and I really like it. And it's El Barquito Chiquito. Can we play a little bit of Barquito Chiquito? I want to go ahead and just play that. Here goes.
Había una vez un barquito chiquitito. Había una vez un barquito chiquitito. Había una vez un barquito chiquitito que no sabía navegar.
Hey. Así es. Yo cogiera la guira. Yo cojo la guira en eso.
But si escucha la música de Canticos, you'll see that we've got, Cuban song, we've got merengue, we've even got a little reggaeton in there, we've got, valses de Mexico. We like really celebrate the different aspects of what we
Por eso es que me gusta esa canción. Ahora tú tienes tu favorita y es una canción que nos va a tirar al mes del amor y cosas así. Y es del nuevo libro que viene saliendo, right?
Exacto. Entonces ahorita estamos sacando el libro de amor. O sea, I love, first of all, I think love is the most important thing in life. Let's not get it twisted, right? Y además, y es no solamente el amor romántico, sino el amor entre la gente, ¿no?
Sí.
And hay una canción venezolana, it's a Venezuelan funk song, and it's called Amores to Love You. And we remade this song, and it's a song, es una canción en inglés y en español, and it's just, Amores to Love You.
Ponle el libro a la cámara para que la gente lo vea. ¿Este libro va a salir cuándo?
Este libro sale ya, búscalo en tu Target. It's a lift the flap. And it's all like, ahí tiene ping-pong con la novia, le dimos novia a ping-pong.
Una novia ping-pong.
Le dimos novia a Benji, o sea,
Qué lindo.
It's all like lift the flap, a ver si encuentro el flap.
Chévere.
And it's all la canción de Amor is to love you, amor is to care, amor.
Tócame la canción, DJ, no me la tiene, por favor, ponme esa. Let's go. Love it. Very cool. Muy chévere. Un gran aplauso por todo lo que ha cumplido y ese nuevo libro que está por salir. Un gran aplauso para ese.
Gracias. Sí, búscalo.
¿Cuál es el que está ahorita? Skeletina, right?
Skeletina.
This is the one with the nightmares.
Sí, okay. Skeletina is not so Encantos, we make lots of different, properties. I see them as like, just properties that we're going to put into the world. There's Canticos, there's tiny travelers to get to know the cultures of the world, and then there's Skeletina. And so I always had really like intense nightmares as a kid.
Yeah.
And you know that, Latinos, we live in that magical realism place, right?
Yes.
The in-between world is real, right? And so I thought, what if there was a little girl who lived in the in-between world who helped kids deal with their nightmares,
right?
The things that like their parents are like, just go back to sleep and they don't really deal with. And so that was the idea behind Skeletina. And it's also like, o sea, está inspirada mi abuela que tejía, ¿no?
Wow. Sí, ahí veo. Tiene mucho brazo tu abuela.
Tiene mucho brazo porque las mujeres hacemos muchas cosas. Eso es como like a little nod to us multitasking strong women, right?
Yes. Latinas are super strong.
And this book I personally illustrated, right? So I did all the artwork as well. So I wrote and I illustrated, and that's important to me also, like walking that fine line between, okay, you're a CEO and you have to run the business, but then you're also creative and you have stories inside you and you like to draw and you need to find the time to do these things, right? So walking that fine line of putting out magical stories for kids and at the same time that are different, hopefully, because we want to get kids as they grow, and at the same time building a business that acknowledges the reality of the landscape, that where you're constantly convincing, not only Latinos, but also the general population that, hey, my books, they're universal appeal.
Yeah, it's so many different personas. You have to look at it, right? You have to look at it from other people's lenses.
Exactly.
So, mirándolo de otro punto de vista, perspectiva, estamos hablando de que este libro aquí de los tres pollitos, que se llama Nicky, Ricky y Kiki Chiqui,
sí, exacto, claro.
y Skeletina, son diferentes audiencias.
Claro.
Yeah.
This is for older kids, right? And this is for your preschool set. But, and the idea is like to continue, because the reality of the market is, if you look at the kids market, it's Peanuts, or it's Paw Patrol, or it's, your franchises that don't really have a Latino at the helm, right? So we want to seed more beautiful properties that have a Latino flavor. We like to say Latino feel, global appeal.
Claro, Latino mix.
Exactly,
Mira,
Latino mix.
Lo que estamos hablando aquí, que es latino, no es una cosa, son muchos. Es como, bueno, para los dominicanos, un sancocho, right? So it's a one in all, but you're finding it from pieces of like Venezuela, you said Cuba, right? Like the music, and then you have, Mexican, right? With Skeletina.
Total.
So there's a lot of influences here.
If you grow up, if you're a Latino here in the United States, you're a little bit of everything. I don't care. I grew up eating Mexican, right? I grew up in Florida, where the only Latino food was Mexican, and I loved my Mexican food, right? And when I found out I was going to move to Venezuela, I thought I was going to eat tacos, man, because my mom didn't cook Venezuelan food.
Got it.
I was like, awesome, I'm going to eat Mexican food. And when I got to Venezuela, I realized, whoa, it's a different culture. So, but if you grew up here in the United States, States, you eat pupusas, you eat arepas, you eat tacos. You're a fusion.
Así es.
You're a
Así es.
Latin fusion.
Aquí es donde todo se viene a mezclar. It's the melting pot.
It's the melting pot.
Yeah,
and you're
yeah.
a wonderful part of this American tapestry.
I love
right?
it.
And maybe your mom is from one culture and your dad is from another, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then your kids are going to be something completely different. Pero lo que sí es importante es que agarramos esa identidad de latino, pues, de latinidad here in this culture.
Sí.
And that we don't like separate ourselves like, es que yo soy, venezolana o yo soy ecuatoriana.
El latino tiene que ser unido.
Unidos.
Sí, unido. Le voy a traer una preguntita aquí que es de mi cajita mágica.
Claro que sí.
I don't know what's the next question
Okay,
that comes
it's all
out, pero
good.
como tú has tenido tanta buena energía y tanta cosa de familia.
Dale.
Aquí está una pregunta. La pregunta de Mr. Cajita Mágica, que siempre es un nuevo parte del programa.
I love it.
It's, what's your favorite family tradition, tu favorita tradición familiar?
Bueno, of course, it has to be like food related, right? And lately, it's pan de jamón. So every holiday year, my daughter and I, we're she's the real baker, right? I just like, this is like an easy thing that I can make.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about taking our pan de jamón, making it, and then, doing things to it. Like she made this year a pesto pan de jamón.
Pesto, pan de jamón. Ahora, venga acá, ¿el pan de jamón es de qué país o de qué
venezolano,
origen?
es
Venezolano. Pero,
sí.
what is pesto?
I know, that's my daughter.
¿Pesto viene de dónde?
De Italia.
De Italia. Entonces, te estoy hablando de la mezcla del hispano. Se llega en la comida, en la música, en los libros de canticos.
Total.
Todo lo que tú estás haciendo aquí con Encantos. Y yo veo como que tú has dicho una cosa varias veces, y yo quiero que la gente lo sepan aquí en esta estación. ¿Cuál es tu deseo para la comunidad latina, especialmente representado en tu misma tradición familiar de lo que está haciendo con el pan?
Ajá.
¿Qué es lo que tú deseas para el latino?
Unidad. Como dijiste tú, la comunidad, ¿cómo es? La unidad está en la comunidad.
Yes.
Te lo robo. No, o sea, the most important thing we can do as a Latino community is be united and look out for each other and take care of our culture and ask for
love
more.
it. Yeah.
Ask for more. And Canticos is like my little Trojan horse. It goes out there, and I don't care if you're Cuban, Venezuelan, Argentine, Mexicanos, todos cantamos los pollitos, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Y la abuelita que no hablan inglés cantan los pollitos. Y los niños que están aprendiendo español cantan los pollitos. So that's the whole idea, is like weave things that bring us together.
Wow.
There's so much, and it's so important.
I think it's so amazing. Bueno, ya ustedes saben que los pollitos dicen piu, piu, piu. Y yo les voy a dejar de saber a ustedes que aquí tenemos muchas personas que van a este programa, que van a venir a hablar de todo lo que están haciendo. Y eso es una cosa de muchas que están haciendo los latinos y mucha gente sobresaliente que son gentes locales. Ahora, lo que hablamos fue la unión, lo de la comunidad. Y con eso, bueno, hasta la próxima. I'll be seeing you in the neighborhood. Pero hasta ahora, ya usted sabe, estamos aquí y somos latinos. So dime si son latinos. And I'm going to end this show with Proyecto Uno. Let's go.
Whoa.
From the neighborhood.